What's up, y'all? I'm out here on the range, as you can see back behind me, on a cold, sunny day. Nothing but jelly testing on the agenda out here, so should be some interesting stuff. And this one right here is going to be another specialty 9mm round. So I got the jelly contraption set up, of course, with the chronos and 2 blocks of gel. Now, I've done one test so far in this, so you got a couple of tracks on this far side. This was actually a very, very interesting 380 test that you're really going to want to see, so I'll leave a link up above for that. Plenty of room on this side. I flipped this around so we'll get a real good picture on this one. And of course, we got to keep the jelly bundled up and warm out here with the heavy clothing barrier that's got the layer of denim, fleece, and 2 layers of cotton t-shirt material. So we got something pretty interesting to check out for this one. These were actually sent to me by Jamie, if I remember correctly, quite a while back, so I really appreciate him sending these to us. What we got here is the 9MM OneStrike rounds. Now, the ultimate CQB round you can see here. These are a totally fragmenting kind of round. Supposedly it's got a powdered metal core in it. It honestly looks like a Glazer safety slug with that polymer cap on it there, but it's not built like the Glazer safety slugs. If y'all know anything about those were actually basically full of shot, number 12 I believe it was. This is supposed to be nothing but a powdered metal core, and I'm thinking that I'm going to see what I figured I was going to see out of those center fires. I think this is going to act more like I was expecting to see from those. It's probably going to be an absolute hot mess in the gel here. What these are supposed to be is a CQB round, close quarters, specialty kind of thing, low penetration, basically none on even lighter barriers, so it'll fragment immediately. Even on a pretty light gauge sheet metal, it's supposed to fragment all the pieces to keep from going through. I guess you could figure it like an air marshal round or something where you've got very, very sensitive environment that you can't afford any kind of ricochet or any kind of pass through whatsoever. So unlike those center fire rounds, these make zero claims as far as any kind of hard barrier penetration. They're supposed to completely disintegrate and not go through them, or just very, very little tiny fragments that wouldn't go through anything significant. And then of course, that being the case, as far as something soft, it's supposed to be basically zero chance of any kind of over penetration. So it's a 9mm 90 grain projectile. There's no velocity on the box, and I don't know if there's any online anywhere. I'm honestly not sure if these are still being produced by Allegiance Ammo. I might have said Alliance, but it's Allegiance Ammo. I'm not sure if they're still in production. It seems like everywhere I did see them listed, they were either like closed out or discontinued or whatever the case. So these may or may not even still be available. But anyway, as usual, I'm going to test these through 2 different barrel lengths. I'm going to make it a little bit different this time though. CQB, when I think of CQB, I'm thinking close, you know, tight quarters, compact. So we're not going to go quite full size. So for the smaller one, I've got my 3.1 inch, my personal EDC, the Canik Mete MC9. And then instead of jumping up to the G17 like I normally do, we're going to stop it at the G19. So 4-inch barrel on this 19. This is a Gen 5 Glock 19. So this should be some interesting stuff. It's probably not going to be my cup of tea just based on what I already know that I'm looking for in a round, but it should be interesting anyway. Let me get this stuff set up and let's check them out. All right, let's see how fast this stuff's moving. We're going to do a 5-round average from each barrel length, starting with this MC9 first. Now again, this is 90 grain, no velocity on the box, but at 90 grain, I expect it to be moving on pretty good, but who knows? Now, for those of y'all new to my channel, like I always mention, just in case you're new, you're going to get multiple readings from this lab radar. You'll get a large number, which is your muzzle velocity, and then you'll get 5 more at the bottom. One of them set for 3 yards, which is roughly where the gel is going to be at 10 feet, and then you'll have 10, 15, 25, and 50. So let's see what these things do, y'all. Very curious to see the speeds on these. Very light recoil, 1272. Very, very light recoil, 1294. 1297. 1271. And 1276, very, very light recoil, no problem cycling or anything though. Let's check that average out. All right, so our 5-round average on that was 1,282 feet per second. We had an extreme spread of 28, which gave us a 12.4 standard deviation. So 1282 for a 90 grain, I mean, that's moving on, not too terrible. And being, you know, just a standard pressure and as light as that recoil is, I suppose that's not too bad. But let's get it reset and see what the G19 does. All right, let's see what this extra inch from the Glock 19 does, y'all. It should speed it up pretty good. Yeah, that's really, really light recoil. 1375, 1341, 1377, 1334, 1333, and that was all 5 of them. Very, very light recoil. You could see that last round. I don't know if you noticed, it just plopped out of there, but no cycling issues on that one. So let's check the average. All right, that extra inch sped it up pretty good. We got an average that time of 1,352 feet per second. We had an extreme spread of 44 and a standard deviation of 22.4. So 1,352 on that one. And if you remember on the MC9, it was 1,282. So you're talking about 70 feet per second faster from the extra inch of barrel. 70 feet per second is about right for an extra inch of barrel out of a 9mm like this. So probably not going to make a whole lot of difference in the gel, I wouldn't imagine. Either way, I think this stuff is going to be a hot mess in the gel. But let me get it reset, and y'all know what time it is. All right, y'all, let's keep it on the inside jelly time. We'll put 1 round through each barrel length, starting with this MC9 first. Now, I about expect, just depending on how wide of a fragmentation and how large these fragments actually are, I expect to lose some, possibly out the sides or bottom, top, something. Who knows? I think it's going to be a hot mess. Again, I think this is going to be the mess I was expecting out of those center fires. But let's see what it does, y'all. All right, that was perfect placement. I mean, the recoil is just nothing, and I didn't see much jumping of the jelly, but let's go see what we got. All right, y'all, I'm sure you can already see for yourself, that was a total fail right there. That round definitely did not perform as designed. So I don't know that the extra speed is going to make the difference here, because that's not how that was supposed to work at all. Not at all, not even close. But let's see what it does out this G19. All right, that was perfect placement right there, and I can already see in the gel it went on out into the second block too. Let's go check those out. All right, y'all, let's check out this fail fest we got down here. I mean, it's absolute double failure. That's all there is to say about it. The only good thing I'm seeing is the fact that it didn't leave me near as much mess to have to clean out the gel as I thought it was going to. So what we got here up on the top, that's the one from the MC9. Now, unfortunately, it went right in front of a track from a previous test, so it's kind of doubled up, but I'll give you some overhead and closer looks. Basically, it looks just like this one on the bottom down here if it wasn't for the extra disruption from the previous test. So comes in here, got some disruption here, but that's just because a projectile went through gel here. Keeps on trucking into the second block, which is not supposed to happen to begin with. Keeps on going, looks like a good 5-6 inches even into this second block, and absolutely nothing going on with that projectile. It's still completely intact, no deformation, no expansion, no fragmentation, absolutely nothing that this round was supposed to do, and everything that it wasn't supposed to do, because it's not supposed to carry. It definitely not through this entire first block into the second one. That's completely defeating the purpose and the whole point of using something like this if you're concerned about an over penetration situation. So anyway, moving on down below it, that's the one out of the G19. Exactly the same thing. It looks like exactly the same round. Goes in here again, a little bit of disruption just from going into the gel. Again, completely through this first block into the second block, and this one goes even further into this second block. It looks like it's about 2 to 3 inches even further than the first one. And again, absolutely nothing going on with that projectile. No expansion, no fragmentation, no deformation. It's completely intact, just like it was before it left the case. So as far as the penetration on these things, the one out of the MC9 MC9 is all the way out here to 22¼ inches of penetration, and then the one out of the G19 is all the way out here to 24¾ inches of penetration. And that's coming from rounds that are supposed to be non-over penetrating. Well, let's get you a little bit of a closer look here. So if I give you this angle here, it'll separate that top one. That was the one from the MC9 that was in front of the other one. As you can see, it basically looks just like the one from the G19. Nothing going on. There's a projectile from that one. If we come down here, there's the one from the G19, and we'll follow it back again. But you can just see, I mean, it's nothing going on. That projectile did absolutely nothing that it was designed to do. All right, y'all, let's take a look at these projectiles. I'm actually really surprised at this right here, that it didn't do anything. I'm really surprised. I expected it to do what it was supposed to do and fragment all the pieces, but as you can see, I mean, it didn't do anything. This one right here, that's from the G19, and this one from the MC9. Now, it actually looks like the MC9 caused that little polymer ball to push back or just cover or whatever that is, pushed in a little bit more maybe. You can even see it's got a little bit of a cloth fragments right there kind of between the jacket and that little piece of polymer ball. But these jackets feel incredibly thin, very thin. It feels super light, really thin feeling on this jacket. So again, I'm incredibly surprised that this stuff didn't do anything at all. But let's get a few measurements on them anyway, and then I'll take a second with a knife maybe and see if I can pop one of those covers off if it doesn't take me too long out here. So as far as the weight, there's absolutely no loss. They started at 90. This one here from the MC9 is actually 86.4. Let me make sure that's right. Yeah, 86.4 from the one on the MC9. So there was no material loss, but apparently just wide manufacturing tolerance. This one here from the G19 is actually 88.8, so it's actually a little off itself too, so not far off, and I suppose that's within their allowable tolerances, but that's a little bit bigger difference than I usually see. Now as far as the sizes, there's really nothing to measure, so we'll check out the base. You got 356 and then 351 going that direction, so maybe just a little bit of deformation. As far as the length on it, you got 520, and then this one here from the G19, you got 350 and 350 again, and then the length on this one here is 547. So there you have it, y'all, the OneStrike 9mm CQB rounds. And I took a knife and I was going to try to get this out to try to see if I could see what was under this little cover, but as you can tell, it's a lot thicker than I figured it was. Maybe once I get home and get out of this cold wind and all, I'll see if I can dig that out, but it doesn't really matter because it's supposed to just be compressed metal as far as the core, and it didn't do anything. Again, I'm very surprised at this. As light as this jacket feels and just as light as the rounds are, and they seem to be moving fast enough to do what they needed to do, but as you can see, whether it was the cloth that stopped it or these things just are not what they claim to be, this stuff right here is an absolute fail that I personally would not spend any kind of money on. All right, y'all, I'm calling it right there for this absolute failure of a so-called CQB round. Now, before I go any further, I just want to make perfectly clear, and y'all have heard me say this plenty of times if you've watched any amount of my videos, as far as over penetration after you make contact with your intended target, I personally feel like that's one of the most overblown, over-exaggerated boogeymen in the entire firearms world. However, if you are somebody who's concerned about that for whatever the case, and you're going out getting stuff like this for that intended purpose, you're totally wasting your money. I mean, you can completely see it right here. That stuff didn't do anything it was supposed to do. And talking about over penetration, if there is such a thing, that right there is it. Now, as far as breaking up and preventing ricochet or going through some lighter sheet metal and other harder barriers, it may do a fine job at that, and it may do as intended. But for this part of its purpose, it is an an absolute failure. But let me know what y'all think about it. Do any of y'all out there actually run any of this stuff in any caliber at all? If you do, why do you run something like this after seeing what this doesn't do? Would you stick with something like this? Let me know down in the comments what y'all's thoughts are. If you did enjoy the video, take a second and hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel, and make sure you got them notifications turned on so you hopefully don't miss any videos when I upload them. Like I always ask, if you're doing some shopping, check out those affiliate links in the video description. Anything you buy after going through those links down there, I get a kickback from them towards the channel, so I really do appreciate that. Once again, a big thanks to all my Range Gang members and every single one of y'all for supporting the channel. I've got a couple more interesting tests planned for today, so make sure you stay on the lookout for those. And in the meantime, stay safe, stay prepared, and I'll see you soon.